We're good.
We're
All
good.
right.
We're back, Butch.
We're back.
We're back.
Yeah. Who's back? Okay. Well, I don't know who we got watching, but we're going to get started here. We started something last week, and this is a continuation. Some lady was a little not happy with me, I guess you'd say, because she wrote in and said, you know, you're supposed to be the top 10 guard dog breeds, and you just kind of gave us a history of terriers and mastiffs. Now, she was kind enough to say it was very informative, and she learned something. That's good.
Yep.
But she still wants to know the top 10 breeds. And one of the things that I hope to bring to everybody with Scott's help is the fact that it's actual security dogs that go out and have a job to do are way more complicated than what you see from all the sport dog trainers. And again, they're great trainers. They're in their sport, they excel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But there's a whole lot more. Scott is a great example. He picked up the Orange Bible when he decided he wanted to start decoying. And I mean, this is a book written in the 60s by the father of American dog trainers, William Keeler.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the only book I had found at the time addressing protection, guard, bite dogs, whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
And it's the only book to this day that I've found that addresses strictly dogs that you want to have the job of biting. The job of biting, not a sport. So there's a lot of, informative stuff. He goes into all the breeds and all these other things. The fact is there's 3-4 different types of dogs that can, depending on your situation, you might use as a guard dog, right, Scott?
Yep. Dog for every situation and protection.
Yeah. So when we started last week, we just wanted to inform people that despite what some of these gentlemen might tell you about, well, you got to have a Malinois to do protection training, nothing else can do it, that nothing could be further from the truth. They're relatively new in the protection dog world, actually. Mastiffs go back centuries and centuries and centuries. Terriers go back several centuries,
Question?
Yeah.
How are the Dutch Shepherds do as family guardians?
Dutchies are one of my top favorite dogs for anything. We're going to get into those here in just a minute, but yeah, if you're looking at a good Dutchie, it's very hard to find a pure Dutchie in this country because most of the mal breeders, when the Dutchies got popular, they just got a Dutchie, bred it to their mals, and the ones that come out brindle or Dutchies, the ones that come out fawn or Malinois. But a real Dutch has got some height to them, they've got some size. We're going to breed here in just a minute. Let's go to our jobs, and then the purpose of the jobs, what these jobs, and how to pick the right dog breed for the right job, okay? So as always, my researcher, Mr. Sinclair, you do the honors, sir.
So we'll start off with,
Go ahead.
Yes.
we'll start off with the alarm dog. An alarm dog is there to detect anyone coming to somebody's premises. Useful in situations where an alarm is needed but biting is not needed.
Right.
Like at a store or a place of residence. So a good example is a place where the owner needs to know of each arrival in his premises, but the traffic is slow that he can't sit there and watch a door all day. So you'll have an alarm dog there. Someone walks in, the dog will bark. Alert him that someone has entered the premises.
Right. And you hear a lot of the people that are armed that have weapons in the house for protection. I've had more than a few of them tell me, well, I don't need a trained dog, I got a gun. But if you're a responsible gun owner, your gun's probably in a gun safe. And you're not going to know someone's kicking your door in until your door has been kicked in. So there's the exact example of what Scott's talking about. This type of dog is an alarm dog. They'll let you know before the guy starts kicking. It gives you time to go get your gun. So what would be some of those what else can you tell us about them, Scott?
Well, because a dog doesn't have to offer the threat of physical protection,
Right.
the size of the dog doesn't matter. It's really, you could go from a toy breed all the way up, you know. Toy breeds are good for this because a smaller dog in some situations, they live longer than larger dogs, for one advantage, and they have more robust constitutions than a lot of the larger breeds.
Good point. Good point. Yeah.
You know, and another thing is the toy breeds, for example, they have a variety of coats that can go from the wettest and the coldest to the hottest and driest temperatures. So they're very adaptable to any situation.
And hypoallergenic, no sheds like
Yes.
the Western Shepherd.
Hmm. So,
Good point. Yeah.
yep.
What would be, say I wanted to step up from there. I had a little bit of concern. Maybe I've got a fancy estate or a house and I've got a fence around it, and you know, I want a little bit more deterrent than just, I don't want to just be told there's a problem. I want something that could maybe stop it, but I hear this a lot. There's little basis in it if you look at the law, which we discussed I think 2 weeks ago.
Hmm.
But I get a lot of people who say that they don't want a dog that'll bite somebody because they don't want to get sued. And therefore, you know, if they have a lot of assets, they're concerned about lawsuits, and so they'd really rather have something like, what's the second job there, Scott?
The threat dog.
Yeah.
The threat dog should not be overly aggressive, but have the courage to stand his ground. So, like you're
Okay.
saying, you don't want him to be, you know, stand his ground against anyone who tries to enter the premises or bluff his way past him. That's why he needs courage and alertness. You know, and it takes more care in selecting these kind of dogs. You know, they're
You know, something like we just forgot, or I forgot, my bad. Remember, this is mostly from the Kohler book on guard dogs, which was written in the 60s. Mr. Kohler, among other things, was that, I believe, one of the first dog trainers for the U.S. military when they decided to start a canine corps. So most all of his statements are hands-on experience. The alarm dogs, because we said top 10 breeds, ma'am, I'm going to give you the top 10 breeds. I don't want you getting upset with me again. What would be good dogs for the alarm dog, Scott?
Australian Terriers, Pomeranians,
Okay.
Chihuahuas,
Yeehaw.
and they even said Pekingese, very
Yeah,
good dog.
yeah.
And that for the alarm. So.
Yeah, yeah. And if you go a step further, if y'all remember the video I put up to announce this first series, there's a little Jack Russell that could gnaw on there.
And Jack Russell, yes sir.
They can gnaw on your, how you call them, you know, and stop a man as well as let you know about stuff. So what else do we know about the threat dog? Where are we going to use him? And
Well, the first general type of dog for the job, remember that in posing a threat, the dog's attitude, not his size.
attitude.
It doesn't have to be a big dog, but it's that dog's attitude. Size will stop impressive, but an attitude, the dog's attitude will help also. You know. You know,
He lost his place.
I lost my place. I have so much information, I have to write it down. So basically, there's something equally impressive about the right kind of small terrier dog
Terriers, yep.
who will stand firmly in the path of an intruder. But it's impressive you have a large dog that stand in front of an intruder, but it's equally as impressive, I meant to say, that you get a small terrier will stand his ground in front of an intruder also.
Exactly.
Now, another thing is about choosing these dogs for the task. You know, basically, you could go with, example, compare a pug to a terrier. So a pug, even though he's got a big head, you got a flat little face, and you got small teeth. You know, he's not going to intimidate anybody.
So you wouldn't want him for a...
No. But you get a terrier, and he gets in his hand, and show you that big mouthful of teeth, he'll bite your legs, your pants, and everything else on the way down.
Right.
Presentation of that.
And what would be Mr. Kohler's choice of the top 5 dogs, breeds for this type of job?
German short-haired pointer,
Ooh,
German
yeah,
pointer.
Yeah.
A Belgian sheepdog. Believe it or
Really?
not, a Belgian sheepdog, yes. Collies,
Okay, I can see that.
Dalmatians, and pit bulls, and chow chows.
And chow chow.
Chow chows.
Yeah, because everybody's just scared of chow chows, and they just stand there and stare at you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what he said with the chow chows is you get them as a puppy, you don't get a 1-year-old dog because that was another story.
They will. Yeah, they are. There's a reason they're not in the top 10 popular breeds that they can
Yeah.
see these days. So, okay, so let's get to the meat and potatoes. I know what the young lady was who asked about the top 10 breeds. She's talking about them man stoppers, as Mr. Kohler's title classification. So we're going to get into man stoppers. We're going to get into some of the breeds. We're going to get into the attributes that they bring, the reason that they are considered a man stopper. And you might be surprised at what Mr. Kohler said even back in the 60s about some of these breeds that are so popular today. But Scott, tell us what he said.
A true man stopper does not merely show a willingness to fight. His job is to stop a man, if necessary, by winning a fight.
Right, by winning.
Winning a fight, one-on-one. So, and I kind of dug into it, and there's qualifications or what you need to look for in picking these dogs. And the first one would be a strong sense of responsibility.
Hallelujah. Strong sense of what?
Responsibility.
Responsibility. I challenge anyone on here. In fact, I'll make it a trivia question. Anyone who can find any reference on YouTube or in any book about so-called protection dogs, if you can find any reference to responsibility, I'll give you one of the Pro Sports shirts with your name on the back of it. It's got the fancy writing on the back, and one of my security system bites bumper stickers. Just show me, because responsibility is not a phrase you hear today's trainers talk about. You hear about drive, you hear about ball drive, you hear about food drive, you hear about four-wheel drive. A few people talk about Sunday drive, but them are older folks, you know.
Yeah.
So, responsibility. What I call it is pack responsibility. Every dog will defend its pack. Now, here's the fine point that people don't realize. In nature, you have two ways to defend your pack: fight or flight. This is why when the Germans came over and taught us the sport of Schutzen, they didn't, at that time, when I started with Schutzen, when it first came here, the whole goal was for you to balance the prey drive with the defense drive. Okay? Balance, and it slowly become, as long as you get bite crazy high drive dogs, just prey drive, prey drive, prey drive. The problem with prey drive is, remember, you have those two factors. On the field, on the sport field, it may be great, but when you put a dog into serious threat, like the KNPV does in their final tests, that dog might decide to choose flight. So you don't necessarily need just prey drive, you need both. And this is where that other factor comes in, that sense of responsibility. Because once a dog sees imminent danger, defense, the hormones that trigger the drives, the defense hormones are going to kick in. Now, the reason we got away from defense was too many people pressured dogs too hard and they chose flight. And if you train a dog always on a leash, you never know if that dog's going to choose flight in a real life situation. So this is where you lean to the dog that's got a sense of responsibility, because that sense of responsibility will sometimes help make the dog choose the fight side over the flight side.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone tells you they're training, your dog's got to have all prey drive, and we'll get into this when we go into some of these breeds here in a minute, it's got to be all prey drive, then they're not training for real life street work.
True.
What else you got on it?
A dog's awareness. He must be keenly alert and aware as a situation develops. Decisiveness.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough for him to be aware and concerned. He must act with sufficient force. He'll make a decision, like you're saying.
Make a decision, okay.
Mm-hmm. Courage. He must be able to stand up to threat and pain. And reasonableness. When you admit someone to your premises, your dog should respect your judgment, but stay alert.
Very important. Yep. The Canine Pro Sports rule book well, you know, we have each rule, and we also have the standards for what the judges judge on, and on the healing part of the exercise and the obedience, we talk about the dog should be aware of its surroundings if it sees somebody coming, but alert to the handler. So it's the same thing. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
What are our breeds on top of Mr. Kohler's list for this, Scott?
Western Shepherds,
Absolutely, that's not Mr. Kohler's, but he would definitely pick it today as the top dog.
Dobermans,
Very good.
Rottweilers.
Good Rotties. Yep.
Standard Schnauzers,
Great dogs.
Kerry Blues.
Kerry Blue Terriers.
I guess that's one of the, he described it as the mini man stopper, one of the best mini man stoppers that, there's some,
Yeah,
Bull Terrier.
that's true. That's a smaller dog. Yeah.
A Belgian Turban,
Tavern.
Tavern. I always put the U in there for some reason.
Yeah. And a Tavern, for everybody that's waiting to hear their favorite breed brought up, the Tavern is just a long-haired Malinois. These are all the Belgian dogs. The Belgian sheepdog you mentioned in the
Yep.
alarm deal. They're Mals. The Dutch classified their dogs by hair coat more than anything else because they're all breeding the same type of herding dog. So Tavern or Malinois is also on the list.
German
What else you got?
German Shepherds.
Now, Mr. Kohler didn't have German Shepherds in his original list, did he?
No, he didn't.
Why would that be, Scott?
Well, he says,
He made a comment about them, though, right?
He did. They were excellent dogs. The problem is, when the dogs came to America, the breeders changed the dog itself.
The conformation.
Conformation of the dog, and their hips displaced shut, and it started. They tried to make the dogs longer and taller and more slender instead of being what a German Shepherd should be.
And the legs.
The legs, and all of a sudden they hip dysplasia and other things among modern day shepherds. So.
Now, do the math, folks. That was 1960. Maybe the mid-60s. So this has been an ongoing problem with German Shepherds for several decades.
Yep.
Which is why we recreated the German Shepherd and the Western Shepherd to get and to the person who asked about the Dutch Shepherd. Dutch Shepherds figured prominently in my breeding program that created Black Bart and what we now call the Western Shepherd.
Yes.
So I respect Dutch Shepherds a lot. Now, the only thing that I don't disagree, but I want to know, we just put the top 2, 4, 6, 8. So
And the last one I come up with was the Briard.
the Briard.
Briard, yeah.
Yeah, Briard. Briard's a French breed that we don't know about. We don't see much in this country, but it's akin to the Schnauzer.
And then the one that caught my eye and put on it was a Bouvier,
Bouvier, another
No,
French breed.
No, no. There's something funny about those dogs right there. They cannot. Oh, go ahead.
What is the name of the book that Scott is referring to? The Kohler book?
The Kohler method of guard dog training, and you can still get it. It's reprinted online.
Mm-hmm.
It will open your eyes to a whole new world about dogs and dog training, I would think.
Yeah, I would think so too. Like putting a brand new pair of glasses on, Butch.
Yeah.
But the Bordeaux, those dogs there had to be championship and get into bite work. They have to pass a series of tests, and they have to be first place in all of their divisions of bite work before they are introduced into French
Right.
police forces.
Now you said Bordeaux.
Yeah, the Bordeaux.
So you mean Bordeaux or Briard?
Bordeaux.
Bordeaux.
The Bordeaux. Yeah, I didn't put it on there, but that's in top
Okay.
10 too.
And do you know what a Bordeaux is?
It is a
What type is it?
dang it, it's a terrier.
Huh? No.
I don't know. I'll know tomorrow though.
We won't make you wait. The Bordeaux is, if anyone ever saw the old movie Turner and Hooch with the big red dog that slung slobber everywhere? Okay, the big red dog. The Bordeaux is a French Mastiff. Like the Cane Corso is an Italian Mastiff. And had the Corso been around, the Corso is an ancient breed, but it was also recreated. Because the same reason I recreated the Shepherd, the working dog people in Italy knew about this all-around farm dog, and then they also saw that the accepted Mastiff of Italy was then the Neapolitan with all the long wrinkles, very impractical physically. And so they went about recreating the old original Cane Corso. And I would put, now I'm going to say it. For those of you who would like to know what I consider the top 10 breeds, and I'm going to go for the man stopper breed because that's what I think most people are interested in. I'm going to look at several factors. Some you've already heard: a sense of responsibility, imposing appearance. But I'm going to add athletic ability, because on the street, again, I come from a guard dog background. My dogs, when I put them out in a car lot to watch that place all night and make sure nobody stole the car, unlike a military or police dog, where if the dog is sent to engage with somebody and take him down, you got a whole squad coming up to back up the dog. My dogs had to win every fight they got into.
Usually by themselves.
By themselves.
Yeah.
Because someone could break into that car lot at 1 o'clock in the morning and we weren't coming around till 6 to pick them up, take them home. And that dog had to survive the night with that human who understands weapons, who understands picking up bricks and all sorts of other things, you know.
Yeah.
So my choices are going to be based on a few things that may not have been considered. Top among it is going to be athleticism. We have caught people on tops of roofs. We've caught people inside garbage dumpsters that were trying to get away from a dog. We needed a dog who had the ability, even if he couldn't get to the top of the roof or inside the dumpster, they had to stay on this guy. So I want an athletic dog. The second thing I do want, that Kohler seems to be more concerned about in the threat dog, but I want an imposing look. The best way to keep everybody safe and peaceful, if someone thinks they want to kick your door in or take your purse, or your wife with her purse, is an imposing looking dog. So the Mastiffs are fantastic at this. And I'm going to plug the Cane Corso. I'm going to put top of my list for man stoppers is going to be the Cane Corso.
Fair enough.
You got 140, 150 pounds of athletic dog
Yeah.
with a head bigger than Scott's.
That's a big old head.
That's a big old head. That's a big old head.
Big old head.
And the athletic ability to finish up the job. And remember, the one thing we're training all a true security dog to do is to be able to keep the man off balance. If the human can pick up the dog and sling it around, then they can pick up the dog and hit it in, knock it into a wall, break its neck. Which means your TV nor your dog will still be available to you the next day.
Right.
You've lost them both, okay? What do you got, Carol Ann?
JD had a comment saying athletic is a great place to start.
Athleticism? Yep, I agree, JD. Thank you. To me, that's key, because again, my dogs had to stay alive fighting and working by themselves. So after the Corso, and let's put a range in it. To me, for a true man stopper, I'm going to go from 80 pounds up. You get in the 70s, you're going to have a questionable. If you have a big guy, he might can take out a 70-pound dog. So from 80 pounds up is, to me, the real man stopper. So looking at that, I would look for my Corsos, because they're athletic. Now, the Mastiffs of today, a lot of them are not as athletic as the Corso. So they're still a great protection dog, man-stopping dog. They have the size and power to do it, but they don't have the athleticism of the Corso. After that, I'm going to go with the Western Shepherd, because that's what I spent 14 years creating this dog to be. Our males are going to run an average of 85 to 105 pounds, plenty of size. They're going to be even more athletic than the Corso at about an average of 130, 140. And hopefully they've got all that sense of responsibility that I want in a dog.
Right.
Their athletic ability has been way beyond anything I'd ever looked for. So number 2 on my list would be the Western Shepherd. Number 3 on my list would actually be the Rottweiler. Except male Rots are butts. A Rottweiler never. Don't get me wrong. I had any day you came to my guard dog company, I always had 8 to 12 Rots in the yard. And let me guarantee you, male Rots don't ever work for you. They will work with you, but they don't work for you. And they will, bow up and try some stuff. But as far as a man stopper, they're fantastic.
Absolutely.
So, what do you think? That's my top 4. Give me what did Mr. Kohler think? Let's check it out here.
The Dobies.
Oh, I got one to the wrong page. Oh, the Dobes. Let's don't forget the Dobes. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, if you can get a European Dobe that's in the 80-pound range, absolutely. In fact, I believe, the hardest biting dog I have encountered is the Doberman because of the length of that muzzle. And of personal experience, and I'm not talking about with a bite sleeve, I'm talking about actually existing in these dogs' jaws. Dobies bite harder than almost anybody. So, what do you got, Carol Ann?
Rick asked, why does Bud specifically rank the King Corso over the Western Shepherd?
Why?
He explained it.
More imposing look, more intimidating.
Just big and beefy, and they're fast.
Yeah, they're almost as athletic as the Western Shepherd. But remember, my goal is to keep everybody in one piece. So the Corso is going to have such an intimidating look that it's going to be very unlikely anyone's going to try to cross him. And I know that especially Rick would be surprised at having me not put the Western Shepherd number 1. But the truth of the matter is, if you can deter an attack, you're always better off than if you're finishing up an attack. So that would be the reason, Rick.
He said thanks.
Said what?
He said thank you.
Oh, okay, yeah. So see, now I wouldn't. I would go definitely with the standard Schnauzer. Giants, no, not standard. I'd go with the giant Schnauzer.
Right.
Giant Schnauzers are as bad. In fact, when you put those 4 breeds together, they're all Rotties, Corsos, Dobes, and standards or giant Schnauzers. That's a handful.
Right.
That's a handful.
How about the Bulldog, American?
Oh, there you go. Now I'll put that in number 5. American Bulldogs. They are tremendous. When you're dealing with any one of those breeds, you can pretty well stop a bull elephant.
Yeah.
So let's put that as our top 5.
That's it. I think so too.
Yeah.
There's a few more, like a Kusav.
Kuvaz?
Kuvaz.
Did Kohler have the Kuvaz in there?
It's like they're man stoppers, but there's not enough research done on them to classify them in the top 10. But they're excellent.
Yeah. There's not enough of them around, but they're a great dog. Yeah. So what else?
You had the Saint Bernard in there too, in the 10th place.
Of course, you probably all saw the movie Cujo.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
That was the Saint Bernard.
that was him.
And I actually knew a gentleman in El Paso, Texas, where I had my guard dog company. He had a florist shop, and he wanted me to go. He had 2 guard dogs. He wanted me to go make sure that they were guard dogs. They were tough, and they were Saint Bernards. And these were 2 of the baddest dudes I have ever encountered. I don't know what he did. He must have, in the old vernacular, he must have had a plate of gunpowder to feed them every day. Because these guys, and they were scary. So yeah, I'll go with Saint Bernard.
So that's basically the top 10 of what he had in there. So.
Yeah, that was it.
And I kind of agree with it too, mostly.
Yeah.
And your list, absolutely.
And let's go back a little bit to the smaller dogs, the 70 pounds and under. Make no mistake, if a Mal latches onto you on the street in real life, not in a suit or a sleeve, if they lay a lip around you and crunch down, you are going to go to your knees and cry like a baby.
I have to have a cast too when he chews through your bone.
Yeah.
Very powerful, yeah.
So these are still great dogs. Terriers are one of my favorite. Pit bulls, when they go to the smaller side, can also have some disadvantages.
XL Bully's a little different though, you say?
It's what?
XL Bully?
Oh yeah, the XL bullies are, you know, but again, you're bringing in some size.
Yeah.
So, if you're looking for all around great dogs that can protect, I'd change the list a little bit.
Mhm.
There, Rick, I would put the Western Shepherd at the tip top.
You see, a top, not to interrupt you, but a top 10 to me, I'd classify them as what they are. Basically, your alert dog, your threat dog, and your man stopper. And doesn't mean one breed is better than the other, but for the classification of the breed, let's make that the classification of what is expected of the dog and the situation the dog will be put in, that's how we classify top 10. So to be a top 10 in every one. And it's not saying one dog's better than a German Shepherd is better than this. It's not what it's saying at all. It's what the top 10 for what the dog is classified to do in its job.
There you go.
That's what I think it is.
Yeah, and I think you're dead on. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's just there's more things there's more jobs out there. They're more specialized than people think.
Because if we sit here all night, we'd be having a top 100.
And I'm thinking we probably, hopefully, enlighten some people
Hopefully.
to some other jobs that dogs are doing in the protection world.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I don't know. What do you think? Beer 30?
Yes, sir.
We're gone, folks. Have a ball.
Later.
I put off of it, right?
Yeah.